So I love a topic, an invitation to go into something I haven't really, known that I've been working with. So through preparing this, I discovered that, because I always ask myself, why did they ask me? And then I discovered that this songbook is called Warmen Vinner. And I was like, okay, that's one hint. And so I learned something about myself also by receiving this invitation. And I've enjoyed preparing for this. I want to start out with an exercise that you take part in. And for this exercise, you need to stand up. And you need a partner. And you need a place, so you don't be on that line with the chairs. Just find a place on the floor where you can stand with your partner. And if there's one, if it's an odd number, I can be with someone. Okay, no, perfect. Okay, so I'll talk you through the whole thing, and then you can start. Both of you will do everything. So first, one of you starts with being in front, and the other one stands behind you. And then the person in front, and don't do anything yet, I'll talk you through it. The person in front will close the eyes. The person in the back will prepare in the feet to be a little bit strong in their foundation. So now I'm the person in the back. And then you place your hands on the back of your partner. And let me just show you where. It's not for massage, so it's not here, it's here. Right where the wings could have come out. Okay, so, and let me complete the instruction. The person in front closes the eyes. You can stand and relax for a while, feel the contact between you, and then you decide at one point when you exhale that in your exhalation you release yourself, you let yourself go slightly backwards into the hands of your partner. And this is not, falling. It's not that exercise. This is letting a part of you, allowing yourself partly, slightly to be supported by your partner. And you, the person in behind, make sure that you're really there, so that the person in the front is not doing a standing sit-up continuously, right? So it's about, okay, I can feel that my partner, my friend, my fellow human being is there for me. But it's not, okay? And we will talk about why afterwards. So you use your exhalation to let go. And you stand there, you are allowing yourself to be supported, and you stand there for a couple of breaths, and then you decide on the next inhalation. You come up again, and the contact remains. Do not remove the hand, always contact. And you do it for a couple of rounds, and I will let you know when you switch. So now you can start, please. Okay, keep the eyes closed. And now, while you're standing up, the person behind, remove the hands and try to now be present in the aftermath. Okay, so before you switch now, make sure that you remain supported for some time. And you come up and you remain upright for some time. And then, when exhaling, you lean into the support again. And the supporter have to be present and really clear. So now you can switch. The person in front, close the eyes. The person in the back, prepare to be a support. So keep the eyes closed, stand upright, and now remove the hands. And try to experience what you feel now. Okay, so now you can have a seat, please. And I think my guess is that some of you had a sensation of warmth. Yes? And did the warmth remain after the hands were removed? And maybe that's when we really noticed it. To be really direct, because I have a lot on my mind that I want to share, so I won't ask you so many questions. The warmth sensation was not a result of the difference in temperature between the hands of your partner and your back. It was not because you were cold on your back and your partner was warm, physiologically. So why do you feel warmth? And how can you feel that warmth after the hands are removed? So what kind of warmth is that? It feels like temperature, you could say. I experience it as heat. But in a way, I also know it's not because I was so cold and now someone, put something really hot on my back. And maybe if there was a difference in temperature, that would have been very slight difference, because when we have a fever, it's about, it's so little difference. So it's not a physiological heat, but we experience a warmth. And I do this exercise as often as I can with groups. And I think I can establish, at least for myself, that this is something that many people experience. So the first question in this lecture is then, is presence warmth, or is warmth presence? Is it the presence in the hands that produce this sensation of warmth? Warmth, we use warmth for healing. We use warmth for physical healing. And we do so because it has a healing effect. But to be more specific, it often leads to some kind of expansion. Something that has tightened becomes looser when it is exposed to warmth. So warmth results in, physiologically also, in some loosening and expansion of the situation, you could say. If you're tight in the neck, you can apply something hot, or you can have a hot shower. If you're really stressed and you've been maybe you didn't dress well for the day, and you come home and you have tightened because you've been cold, what do? You need to apply some kind of heat. You can also produce that by moving, but we can, if we're phenomenologically exploring warmth, we notice that warmth almost always results in some kind of, you could say, expansion, and also a certain loosening. And this lecture is it's continuously, it's completely a metaphor in a way, because I can't help myself. Because when we're talking about warmth, it's almost always true, both physiologically and socially. So I have given up trying to distinguish. Now I'm talking metaphorically, and now I'm talking because, and my conclusion would be, it's because, it's not a coincidence that the physiological effects of warmth also serve as a perfect metaphor for the social effects of warmth. So when I say that warmth produces or allows expansion and looseness, you could also say more room. That's both, it's a fact physiologically, but it's also an experience socially. And today the focus is socially. So what does warmth look like in social life? I found that there are we could say two categories of warmth. There's a kind of a more soft, subtle warmth, making contact with the eyes, a smile. When you raise your eyebrows instead of doing this. Subtle little things that we pick up as warmth, laughter. And now this exercise that you did, support. And support for adults is most of the time very subtle. It's not, someone fainting and then we catch them like this. Support between adults it's almost often invisible. It's just a sensation. I can sense that he or she is there for me. But most of the time it's not, very explicit and very big. So I recommend you to do this exercise with people you collaborate with, And then you can use it to formulate what you need in support. How do I like to be supported? And then you can take this exercise that you did and say, in a way I felt that you stopped me too soon and I wasn't allowed any, you didn't allow me to have any crisis. You were like, stop, I'm here. Or maybe you let me go too far and I felt, are you really there for me at all? And you can use it as a brilliant way of formulating and becoming conscious about your own needs and understanding the needs of others. It's a great way of coming into a dialogue about yourselves and others, in a way, in a playful or metaphoric way. So what does warmth look like? Eye contact, smiles, raised eyebrows, laughter, support, kind gestures, touching, listening, and also sharing. And then I thought about, okay, warmth as something more explicit, something harder, you could say. And when you're working with groups, you need to kind of read the group. Is this a group that needs you to work with warmth in a hard physical way, or do they need this more subtle approach? Because not all groups like the same things. So you can create warmth by moving the body. You can create warmth by jumping up and down, and you will see you become warm, and something happens also in the social life or in the social realm. And then kind of a third dimension of warmth is where it gets really interesting, because one of the things, at least in a Norwegian culture, but I would say most places I've been, we mistake warmth for being nice. So we think that if we're nice to each other, snill, that's being warm, and if we're not nice, we're cold. And this is a very undifferentiated way of looking at warmth, because warmth is also being bothered. I care enough to try to be authentic with you. When I can't, be bothered as much, I often don't stop someone when they're saying something I don't really agree with. Or when they're saying, oh, did you mean that? And I hear, no, it's not really what I meant. But yeah, it's what I meant, You kind of you can't be bothered. And daring, this third, I would say, expression of warmth is a more difficult side of warmth. It's the side that causes friction also, because if I'm authentic and actually it's not what I meant, it can be a bit uncomfortable for the both of us. But it's actually warmer than saying, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Because I'm being nice now, but I'm not really warm. Being authentic, or you could also say congruent. It's a good word that we use too seldom. Congruent is a harmony between what I express and my inner state. And we feel uncomfortable around people who are not congruent, because we don't know really what's bothering us. But there's just in some level of our being, we can feel this person is not congruent. Something is going on here and something is going on in the inner world, and they're not really correlating. It's more difficult to be authentic and congruent than to be nice. You have to care more, and that can be difficult. I will talk more later about the even more difficult sides of warmth. Okay, now I move on to a side of warmth that I have been really taken by lately, because I was asked to give a lecture about emotions. And that's quite similar as to today, because I was like, why would anyone ask me to talk about emotions? And then I learned so much about myself. Like, if I had to look back at my life and say, okay, looking at what you have paid the most attention, whatever you paid most attention in your life is your best friend, then emotions are my best friend. Emotions have been a big, big part of my life. And from thinking about emotions, I discovered something that is so beautiful. I'm kind of in love with this idea right now. And that's the concept of giving. And on the Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, it's the Sankt Martin. And this day we remind ourselves the value or the importance of giving, sharing, solidarity. And I try to understand again and again what does Sankt Martin really mean for me as an adult. And this year it's about to really understand giving on a deeper level. And one of the images that have stuck with me lately is an image that some of you heard yesterday when I was giving a lecture, and it's about an uncle of mine that used to invite anyone who wanted to in our very big family to come to a cabin up in the mountains. And I was a young adult at the time when this was like an annual invitation, and I went to the mountains, and what we were going to do there was to ride bicycles down the mountain. That was the whole point of going up there. And I really like speed and a bit of risk, so for me that was perfect. But a part of the whole thing was riding the bicycle up the mountain, which is not as fun. But he has this like really deep, solid foundation, very like clear in his morale. And he was like, yes, no, you know, all these cliches in a way, no pain, no gain. It's no fun going down if you haven't gone up and all that. So we were pedaling up a mountain, literally pedaling the bicycles up a mountain. And I remember sitting on my bike and he's next to me and he's like very supportive. He could have just gone, you know, like he was so fit that he could have been up there half an hour earlier than if he hadn't waited for me and the other people he had invited. And I remember it as kind of it's a struggle. You could have just been taken in a car. You would have been up there in 5 minutes. But we had to spend like an hour out in the kind of cold, high mountains in Norway just to get up there. And then I wasn't reflecting on this at the time. But then, years later, I found myself still completely unconscious, completely unaware. I found myself sending out messages to friends. I had rented the exact same cabin, saying, we have a cabin up in the mountains and we're going to ride a bicycle. Do you want to come? And then I found myself on the bicycle next to new kind of, what's it called? Uskyldige, innocent people who didn't know what they had said yes to, and now we were riding bicycles up the mountains, and I was him now, next to some person who was really red-faced and tired. I was like, yes, it's so much more fun to go down when you've gone up, and you know, all these things. And then, not even then, did I realize that I was basically doing the exact same thing that he had done. And later, I realized that he, by doing this and many other things in the kind of the same style, wasn't really giving it to me, which is what I've been thinking when I was younger. Thank you. I'm so grateful for what you gave to me. Now I notice that all the things that I have been given, and I've been given so much in my life, it's kind of almost like a natural law. I want to give them on. So when we give to others, we don't give to them, we give through them. And then giving becomes really, it becomes a very existential, and you could also say infinite action. You don't know who you are giving to when you give to someone, because you will not know who this person meets. But you have provided that person with almost like a need to give. And for me, that is warmth, and it's a part of warmth that tells us that warmth breeds warmth. In a room where it's warmth, people become warm, and it's exponential. So Josefin receives this kind of attention and kindness from one uncle, and Josefin has this urge to give it, and lots of people my uncle never met or will never meet. And that again exponentially spreads on and on. And I believe that warmth operates in that way in the world. And in this songbook, there's one song in Norwegian. It's called Du har sådd et frø. It means you have sown a seed. And the lyrics, I translate it directly, is, the warmth from the look that you gave me remains. And I give it forward to people I meet. And now you have sown a seed that will multiply by 10. Just like in nature, the surplus in nature, one seed becomes a little tree or a flower which produces 100 new seeds. One seed, 100 new trees, 100 new. So this exponentiality, I think that's very much real for warmth. And that's what makes it so hopeful to work with, when you feel that it really just expands way beyond you. I worked a lot in groups in my life. I identify with being a part of a group, a part of a community. That's kind of always, in a way, been the situations I end up in or find myself in. And it's really challenging to work in a group. I'm not going to say anything else. I've been so annoyed with so many people, thinking all these idiotic thoughts about others, being really moralistic, being really strategic, being really cynical, being really distrusting, tired, disillusioned. I've felt so much from working with other people in a group. But it's also been something I could never imagine living without. I've learned everything I know, I think, about myself from others, from trying to work and collaborate and understand others. And one metaphor for a group, and it resonates well with Joseph Beuys, who was very inspired by Steiner, who kind of came up with this concept of the social as an art form, and also the concept of the social sculpture. And I don't know if I'm quoting him exactly, correct, but I get a sense that he's talking about that any group produces a social sculpture. And the first funny question, and not funny, but fun question you can ask yourself as a group is, what does our sculpture look like? Like, what does you could say, impression of us look like if I were to sculpture it? But another image is a fire. And I often think about if we were in a circle now, and we don't have to be in a physical circle, but we can think of ourselves as a group, a circle, and then the fire, there's a fire in the middle of the group. And the state of this fire is an expression of the group. And now we can think about a really big fire, and maybe it's too big and it's becoming dangerous, or it's barely holding on and you have to keep it going. Maybe it's about to die, this fire in the middle of the group. Or, yeah, so we can play around with that metaphor. And one of the things I've learned from being in a group is that the moralistic side of me has often been kind of annoyed with the people, that there are some people close to the fire working to nourish it, to protect it, you know, being dedicated and attentive to the fire. And then there are people, you know, in the periphery, and they get so much from this fire. They get light and warmth. They have a place to kind of hang out. They have, in a way, a safe place. But they're not really contributing so much to keep this fire going. I think you would be lying if you say, I don't recognize any of this from working in a group. I don't believe you if you say, never experienced anything like that. If you do, if you haven't, good for you, I guess, or maybe not. Okay, so this kind of friction between the sculpture between us, and this sculpture is it our idea? Is it our calling? Is it our school? Is it our shared responsibility or dedication to a matter? And after some years, and I've had this image in my head, like it's been quite active, this metaphor, the fire in the midst of us. I started actually wanting to be dedicated to the fire, and I was pleased in a way to know that some people, for some reason, are not actively contributing, but the warmth and the light that is produced is absolutely critical to them. And in any organization or group or community, there will be different needs and ways of contributing, and degrees, you could say, of contributing. And that's, in a way, the nature of the beast. Maybe that's becoming older to not even just accept it, but say yes. That's how communities work. That I'm capable, or maybe I'm not, maybe I just have a really inflated self-image, but at least I like to think I'm here, putting something in. And I like that you are over there, and I hope that you feel the warmth and the light from this, the center of this, or the middle of this group. And I also have this hope for organizations and communities that if you are a part of a group of colleagues, for example, maybe we can have a longer time span in our perspectives, and we can say, you're in your 30s, you don't, or maybe you don't have any children, and you're just here 24/7, and that's fine. And you're going through a divorce, and you've been here for 10 years, and now you can step back for a while and just be warm here. And we will keep this fire going while you need to do something else. And then you get through that divorce or that, crisis in your life, and you gravitate back here. And now I need a break. Now I need to be the person in the periphery, being held or warmed. Maybe we can build communities where we have this perspective on our social life. I'm writing an article nowadays about some like core qualities in Waldorf kindergartens. And I'm writing about the candlelight and the fire. I'm writing about the knife, the knife's edge. I'm writing about the natural surroundings. And so I'm trying to really formulate what is the quality of a lit candle. And what separates it also from what you could call a candle robot, LED light. What's the difference between a lit candle and a LED light pretending to be a lit candle? And I try to really think about this in many ways. There is actually research, one part of it. And then I noticed that if I'm approaching a restaurant or a cafe and it's dark, and you see the flickering lights inside, or maybe even on outside the door, I approach the door and it's a lit candle. I actually become happy. And I ask myself, what is it just because you're so extremely sentimental that you're happy? Have you turned into this old lady like, yeah, yes, we're still doing things like we did in the back, yeah. Or is it like, okay, yes, maybe, and it's okay to be nostalgic, but is there also a quality there that makes me happy on a deeper level, not like just on an emotional level? And when I'm trying to be objective, just really exploring what happens to me when I see that lit candle, one really specific, concrete thing is that I imagine someone else going outside, doing this with a match or a lighter, lighting that little candle, and it's maybe windy, and you have to put it in there, and okay, so someone has been there, presence again. For me, it's presence, human presence. Someone was there, caring enough to go through this little, very unpractical thing, lighting that candle and putting it in through that, tiny, too narrow glass, and maybe burning yourself a little. So it's presence, and that warms me. Human presence. Sometimes in Norwegian I like to say åndsnærvær, because spirit or ånd in a way means someone. Someone was present. An individual was there. And now the question is, so is it just the more warmth, the better? Or can it become too hot? And in the body, we can get the fever. And that's not good. It's not like, yes, just turn the heat up and then the body is better and better and better. So what does this tell us in a social dimension? If it's too hot, you could use, if we imagine that this gesture of being present, caring, touching maybe, and also leaning in. I use the word expand, so something is opening up, something is expanding, it's becoming looser in a way, in contrast to tightening. And what's the opposite word of expansion in English? Contraction. Okay, so we have this gesture in the social life, and can it become too much? Can I, in a way, lean too far into something else? And when I was trying to imagine too much warmth, I did this, like it's suffocating me. I can't breathe. I need to make a clearer distance between myself. It's like you're in a way, consuming me. So is the threshold in a way when it's becoming too warm, I stop existing and I need to feel that I am me. So no, that's enough. I'm here, you're there. And there's this beautiful book about social work in Norwegian. It's called nærhet og distanse, so closeness and distance. And it's really describing the balance between, and that's social work also, so there's a professional ethic part of it, but that distance is also necessary. And it's not, sometimes you need to be cruel. It's not that. Distance or clarity, you could say, boundaries, is also a part of it. But in this context, I just got my kind of discovery was that when it's too warm, too close, I can't really feel myself as something apart from you, and I need to do that. We are not the same. You are you and I am me. And in order to experience myself as something else than you, someone else than you, distance in a way is necessary. You could use the word antipathy, sympathy, antipathy, but I don't think they're precisely the same. Okay. And then I had a brilliant teacher, and he was teaching something at the university college, and I was a student, and there was a chaos in the group, and he was, we were washing all the glasses from we had been painting, and he was just passing me, and he said, "Josefin, this is light, this is warmth." Yeah. Because that's his style. So I'll do it for you again. Josefin, look at your hand. This is light, this is warmth. And that's his style, so I had a lot to think about. Okay, this straight line, something straight, and that my hand in a way was designed or created like that we have this duality in the human body, the clarity, the light side, and then that, okay, so warmth and light is different, because up until then I would say, varme og lys, it's basically the same. Warmth and light, it's warmth and light. And then he differentiates and he says, the quality of warmth is something else than the quality of light. And the poem has this, okay, here we have shadows, we have curves, we have the straight line, and we have the curved line. So maybe then warmth actually is not as bright, or it doesn't have the same clarity or brightness or light quality as light. They're different. It's still a riddle to me, but I like it. Does that mean also that warmth, if we proceed, that light is consciousness and darkness is, in a way, unconsciousness or a sleeping state? Does warmth have something not as conscious about it as light does? I found a formulation from Steiner. He says, later the human being will create warmth and finally light. So there you find a little, it's a kind of evolution, first warmth and finally light. So they're definitely connected, but one comes before the other. Okay. in a social context, my experience is that the coldest factor, that's instrumentality. There's nothing colder when we work in the group than someone saying, what's the point of this? And not in an interested way, but instrumentally, what will this produce? How can this become an instrument to me later on? What's the point of this? It's a very instrumental question. Maybe my teaching is just really bad. That's also that can be a possibility. But it means that you are not present to experience the quality of what we're doing right now. You're asking what's in this for me, implicitly in a different context. It's in a way capitalistic, you could say, economic. And it's really devastating to the group because warmth is also very vulnerable. There's a certain vulnerability in warmth because I said at the beginning, warmth is sharing, listening. So if someone is in a sharing state, which is often what we feel, okay, now you said something, you opened up or you gave something you didn't have to give, which is the opposite of being instrumental. You're doing something unnecessary. And then someone is coming in with this question, what's the point of this? You know, when are we finishing? I need to catch a train or whatever, you know? Maybe we can finish sooner today. So that's the one is doing something you really didn't have to do on an efficient, looking at it from an efficient point of view. It's very inefficient to start to share or to say, I want to hear more, tell me more about that, to listen. It's not necessary, it's inefficient. But when we do that, we can notice that, okay, it starts to spread. And the other kind of tendency or energy is this, in a way, efficient, productive, economic, instrumental approach. And communities need to be really resilient to withstand these impulses in the social life. It takes a lot. The opposite of instrumental is autotelic. It means meaningful it's meaningful in itself. It doesn't have a purpose. It doesn't produce any credits. No, you won't get a raise. No, because you come to the Christmas fair doesn't mean you get the day off on Monday. It doesn't produce anything. It's meaningful in itself. It's autotelic. And the autotelic activity is very vulnerable. It's very exposed to the instrumental approach or the instrumental kind of factors in the social life. And Rudolf Steiner connects morale to warmth. Morale. Okay, the last chapter of this lecture is is about the possibility or the potential of the consciousness soul. To do it really, I would say, in a very simplified way, Rudolf Steiner describes a development in the consciousness of humanity, and describes how the consciousness of humanity is developing and changing. And now, we who are present here, we are living in a period in time that he calls the consciousness soul period. bevissthetssjelens tidsalder. And the potential in each and every one of us is profound integrity, the truly free individual, the free conscious individual. That's the potential. It's just a potential, it's just a possibility, it's not a fact. And the context around this, you, me, everyone, is that we also have removed basically all structures in social life that supports us. Period, you could say. All structures that were supportive, but also very, you could say, dictating, are removed. Everyone going to church on Sundays, you know. You always have dinner with your family at 4. You sit upright by the table. I would have loved to have that support because I think it's really difficult to have dinner at the table. So, and if I'd lived 100 years ago, it would have been, you know, nothing else would have been an alternative for me than to sit with my family at 4 and have the dinner, and to go to the church on the Sunday and hear the sermon and sing, for example. So we have structures that are removed, and for many good reasons, I would say, leaving the individual left to its own in a way of shaping a good life, to sit at the table at 4 and have the dinner, and to find ways of working with spirituality, because I don't go to church on Sundays, so I don't sing on Sundays either in the community of others. I don't, because I don't live 100 years ago, and so on and so on. So we have this potential to become truly free, to have integrity, to be conscious individuals. But the risk is that we become egoistic and isolated, that our whole project in life is me and myself. But the thing is, what's so beautiful about it is that you can say, but it would have been so nice to live in a society where all these structures were just there. And then I would have been singing a lot, and I would have been studying religion, and I would be having the dinner, and I would be going to work, and I would be doing everything I should be doing, and that would be good for me. Because it is good for us to have a rhythm in our life, and to be a part of a community, and to sing, and to have the meals at the same time of the day. It is good for us. It's just that now we have to be able to do it ourselves, with no conformitet. No norms, in a way, forcing us to do so. But what we can have instead, we can have that people show up out of their free will on a Saturday at 5 o'clock, listening to a lecture about warmth, just because they decided to do so. And you can imagine the difference in a social community, a group. Imagine sitting with a group of colleagues or friends, and everyone in that group could say, imagine sitting with your colleagues on a Monday morning at 8, and everyone in the group could say, there is no place I'd rather be than right here with you. And the immense power in that group, beyond anything, you can't compare it to anything. And maybe we're not as, maybe the choir we ended up making wasn't as, consistent in their, rehearsals, or maybe it will become more chaotic. It will become more in the terms of each individual, but it will become exponentially powerful. Because the community, the social groups that we can create are a direct expression of individuals deciding to take part in a group, deciding to, in a way, sacrifice themselves for the community, but also realizing that by doing so, they gain a lot. Okay. I have to read you a quote that I think is so beautiful, and then I will play a couple of songs. This quote is, and this is a continuation of this individual deciding to take part. In the book, I don't remember the exact English title, but it's Hvordan når man til erkjennelse av høyere verdener? How to know reach knowledge of higher worlds or something. Rudolf Steiner describes this figure that he calls the guardian of the threshold. And in the ending of the book, the individual, the human being, has developed in life in a way that he or she feels, I'm ready to move on. I'm so good at this now. I know so much. I have so much insight into maybe the spiritual world or maybe knowledge. So now, please let me through. I'm done with this, you know. And then there's a figure there. And this figure is then called the guardian of the threshold, terskels vokter. And he says the following to the person who wants to, you know, pass. You are all connected to one another. You all had to descend into the sensory world to draw strength from there to the higher world. If you want to separate yourself from them, you would be abusing the powers that you have only been able to develop in fellowship with them. It's maybe the most beautiful sentence that Steiner ever formulated. If you wanted to separate yourself from them, you would be abusing the powers that you have only been able to develop in fellowship with them. You must share these powers that you have acquired with them. And for me, that's, you know, that's this being a part of a community. You have been warmed by this fire in the middle. You have been enlightened or illuminated by it. And maybe, yes, you have been a big contributor to it. And then you can say, I'm too good for this now. This whole fire is basically just me. I'm going to take my fire and leave. And then you fortunately encounter this guardian saying, your powers, you gained them through being here with them, a part of the community, producing and sharing and, I would say, paying forward warmth. Okay, so now I would like to finish by playing two songs. And I tried to find two songs that have English lyrics. And the first one is a song about parents and children. No, the second one will be that one. The first one is a song, I'm going to look at the... It's called I'll Walk With You. And I thought it was suitable for this, also this topic. I'll walk with you. I'll just read the lyrics, it's really short. Walk warily. Walk warily. I'll be right behind you, watching over every step you take. Speak carefully. Speak carefully. I'll always be listening, pondering every word you say. Shine mightily. Shine mightily. I'll be in the shadows, admiring every ray of light. Cry solemnly. Cry solemnly. I'll always be with you, drying every tear you shed. right behind you, watching over every step you take. Speak carefully, speak carefully. I'll always be listening, pondering every word you say. I'll walk with you, I'll walk with you. I'll care for you, I'll care for you. Shine mightily, shine mightily. I'll be in the shadows, admiring every ray of light. Cry solemnly, cry solemnly. I'll always be with you, drying every tear you shed. I'll walk with you, I'll walk with you. I'll care for you, I'll care for you. And lastly, this other song is called Sailing, and it's a song about the relation or a process of letting go between parent and child. And as Marianne touched upon in her introduction, my intention with composing this music for the pupils is that I believe strongly in trust and hope as the deepest and most powerful foundation in the human life, and also I would say a force. And I think that there's so much in our society now that is stealing or denying young people and children this feeling of hope and trust. And it's not something we can just tell them, okay, now we should you really trust life and be hopeful. You can't tell that to the pupils. You have to give them experiences, the experience of feeling hopeful, of feeling optimistic. And my way of doing that is to compose music, because music is also maybe the most direct and immediate way of of being filled with sensations. So by singing these songs, I hope that they can, at least for a moment, feel hopeful and trusting in their own goodness, in their own powers. Yeah, so this song is about this process of letting go, but we have to go through this in order to become independent adults free individuals and to find our own path. Mother, I feel the world calling out my name, asking me to come. Father, I feel the wind whisper the secrets of everything that has to be uncovered. Can I take my leaving? Will I dare to surrender the care of my childhood to go sailing out on the open sea? Is this how it feels to be free and imaginative, hopeful with so much to give, open and loving and strong? With the wind in our hair we are flying, leaving the shore behind. The warmth from the sun is kind, kissing the skin on my face. We found our very own place in this beautiful world. Son, you'll find your way, roaming through the forest within you. Daughter, I'd hope to come with you, but life has its plan, and so I must remain behind. Can I let you go? Like arrow from bow, one day you'll be more than you know, and be sailing out on the open sea, and know how it feels to be free and imaginative, hopeful with so much to give, open and loving and strong. With the wind in your hair you'll be flying, leaving the shore behind. The warmth from the sun will be kind, kissing the skin on your face. You found your very own place in this beautiful world. Thank you. Tusen tack. Tack.
Thank you so much, Josefin, for sharing your thoughts.
Mm.
Yeah, and got something to taste. Yeah, so I think I'll be phoning you in a couple of days to head on.
Yes.
Yes. We're very lucky in Bergen because we have a very local.
Spoke about, and for me was hitting what you told about the different roles, so to say, of people around the fire,
Mm-hmm.
the center and the periphery, because that's exactly the thing I'm struggling with, because I'm really always into the fire, and then I'm frustrated that not anyone is taking part, and then I'm burned out at one time, and then I think, oh. And then now I understand we can have different roles and we can change it all the time. So it's a dynamic thing. It's not a past thing. It's not a given. It's just go with the flow and admit that you are changing roles. The examples you gave were very wonderful. That we sometimes need to breathe out and be a bit more far from the fire and and sometimes be more close to the fire. So thank you for giving me this perspective.
And if someone was really, really furious with me for saying that, I feel you. Like if I had heard someone say that 10 years ago, I would be, throwing a rotten banana at myself and calling myself really naive. And, are you just saying that people can just come here and take and leave and I should be just, and so it's not from a place of naivety, it's from a place of experience that I haven't found any other approach that is serving me, because you can't really force anyone. And when I'm a teacher, I'm really generous in that sense with the pupils and my students now that are adults. I trust that what I'm doing here has radiance and warmth, and many of them will not really contribute in the way we think about contributing or identify as ourselves. But then I feel at peace with just being here, attending the fire, and people are, and maybe for some person who feels really distant, that would be a life-changing sensation that will give on into the world in ways I can't control and shouldn't try to control. So in a way it serves me, but I also acknowledge the part it's also really demanding. It's not that I don't acknowledge that. Yeah.
You used an expression, pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
And this resonates with a treasured Norwegian poem by Olav H. Hauge, about a man who comes to a river and he needs to get over, and there's a ferryman. So this ferryman, he takes this man across the river, and when he comes to the other side, the man wants to pay. And the ferryman just sails on and says, help another person. Give it, pay it forward. So this giving, if you give something to me and I give something to you, then it looks like there's a sort of a balance. But for me it's not, because we have so many contracts. But if you give what you can give me and I give whatever I can give to people who needs whatever I have to give, and that's for me is balance. And that's
Så gjør en annan mann ei beine da, sa osamann og skau ifra. It used to be in our refrigerator when I was a child.
okay.
Yeah.
Josefin, kan du ta en sang til før du går?
Ja, det kan jeg, hvis dere vil det. Eller liksom...
Another song she asked for.
Do you have any suggestions? Okay. What should that be? Okay, I just have to think for a second.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do one on the guitar. Okay, so this song is not for pupils or students. It's a song I wrote for myself as a singer-songwriter. And I just felt right now inspired to sing it because this building wouldn't probably have been here if it hadn't been for my father, my late father, who passed 12 years ago. Yeah, so speaking about having received a lot in my life, he has definitely given me much. And I wrote this song after he had passed. It's called Something, and it was in the beginning of my process, or my first encounters with grief. But for me, it's a really, yes, it's a song written in pain, but also it has so much of his presence is there in the song. So he was always playing the guitar and singing if he wasn't listening to music himself. And what I'm doing right now is playing, I'm picking the exact same way he did when I was a teenager. And I wrote it one day. I came up to Mom and something's gotta turn this around. Anything, just give me anything to help me put these feet on the ground. On the ground. On the ground. One day, maybe next week, I will burn my house to the ground, and I will look through the ashes, and you will be nowhere to be found. I wish I'd find you. I wanna find you. Come back and tell me there's nothing in this world that can end, and that you are still beside me. There's nothing in my heart that can't mend. I wanna mend.